A few months ago, Jacksepticeye uploaded what I consider to be one of his best videos. I Have Autism. It's a brutally honest conversation about him finding out he has autism, and what that means to him. You know, during my time on the internet, I've had the privilege of meeting a few people with ASD and having a conversation about it. And from the comments, I know a decent chunk of my audience is on the spectrum. So I thought, why not? Let's make a video about it. How do people with autism handle this sensitive topic? How does communication work during sex? Consider this a helpful guide for sex on the spectrum. And before we get started, I wanted to give my regular viewers an update on what's coming this month on the Patreon. If you're unfamiliar with how I run my Patreon page, it works like this. For just $5 a month, members receive a virtual DVD bonus features package. It comes with scrapped video ideas, narrated gameplay, small ideas that aren't long enough to make a full video, and more. This month, we've got a ton of scrapped video ideas that got very far into production, a Candles creator mix, where you can listen to a playlist of songs I'm currently listening to while I make videos, and maybe even the Hub's 2024 year in review, all hosted by Corretta in a Rouge cosplay. It's shaping up to be a really fun month for bonus features. I understand it's a financially difficult time for most of us, so everything on the Patreon is additive to my videos. I don't paywall any of my main content. Nothing is subtracted. It's just there as a little bonus for those members. So if that all sounds up your alley, consider supporting me over there. If you sign up now, you'll still get the bonus features for this month. You know, signing up for something like this takes some of the stress off of my YouTube content. As you can imagine, these kinds of videos aren't easily monetizable. Regardless if you can or can't support me in that way, I appreciate you all being here. Thank you. First, let's define what we're talking about here. Autism spectrum disorder is defined as a neurological and developmental disorder that affects how people interact with others, communicate, learn, and behave. Although autism can be diagnosed at any age, it's described as a developmental disorder because symptoms generally appear in the first 2 years of life. We used to think of autism as just nonverbal autism, where the individual has trouble with speech and certain behaviors. Now we understand that it's a spectrum. Someone like Sean would fall into the spectrum, where he can communicate just fine, but in his head he's overanalyzing every word and bodily movement. You might exhibit some autistic traits, you might exhibit all of them, you might exhibit none of them. The point is, everyone is different, and what works for some won't work for others. It's important to know your sex partner no matter their neurological situation. But for autistic people, it's especially important. The first sex-related complication is masking. This is something that individuals with autism often have to do in order to function in society. Masking is when you suppress your autistic tendencies to appear more neurotypical, in order to fit in. If you have the tendency to get sidetracked into random, self-contained conversations, you might try to repress that by just not speaking as much in a group of neurotypical friends. Turns out, this behavior can also occur during sex. An autistic partner might pretend to like something in order to try and fit into the mold of what they see as normal. They might get really uncomfortable with penetration, but they acquiesce to their partner out of fear of being rejected. If you're a sexually active, autistic individual watching this video, the very first step to a better sex life is to stop the masking. Sex is about accepting your partner for who they are, their strengths, and their weaknesses. It's a package deal. The most common issue autists face during sex is hypersensitivity. Hypersensitivity refers to a condition where the recipient of a stimulus, like touching, can have extreme reactions. Things that someone would consider normal, like lightly caressing someone's face during sex, can be catastrophic. Even skin-to-skin contact can completely derail a night of fun. But hypersensitivity works both ways. If it's a pleasurable feeling, it's extra intense. Sex becomes higher risk with a higher reward. So if you study your partner's comfort zones, you can have the most amazing sex possible. It's just gonna be a bit trickier. Regardless of what those comfort zones are, there are certain workarounds to these sorts of autistic tendencies, and that's what we're going to cover now. Spontaneous sex should probably be avoided. One of the most common autistic tendencies is getting into a rhythm with a specific task. When this rhythm is interrupted, it can destroy the run-up to getting into a sexy mood. Sometimes people love spontaneous sex requests from their partner. Getting down and dirty when you both aren't prepared can be really hot and animalistic. But if you're with someone with autism, you should consider what these kinds of requests will do to their routine. Oftentimes you'll find that planned sex has a far better chance of success. Now, planning out sex can be good, but it's worse when those plans are totally derailed. Again, the tip-off here is a pattern becoming interrupted. This is called cognitive rigidity, difficulty changing one's mindset. Cognitive rigidity likely stems from sensory overwhelm and a consequent desire to feel in control. Still, you should consider that sex never goes to plan, and you should learn to plan around things not working out. A lot of people, neurodivergent or not, have an idea of how any sexual encounter should go. These narratives are typically brought about by the consumption of pornographic material. Assure your partner that it's okay if something they tried just didn't pan out like they thought it would. You'll be working through a lot of frustration in the lead up to sex, but practice makes perfect. And try taking it slower in general. You could set aside 1 or 2 hours of time. Extend that foreplay. Start out with a neutral body part, like their calves or their feet. Work up to touching them in their erogenous zones. This ensures that you don't overload their circuits. On that point, ensure that you aren't trying to do everything at once. Even if your partner is enjoying it at the moment, they might be up all night, overstimulated, and unable to get it out of their head. The way my source describes it is, we can't see and hear and feel and touch and taste and move with purpose all at once. It's easy to overstep your intimacy threshold. Everyone has a certain point where too much intimacy at once is extremely overwhelming. A common way this line is crossed is eye contact. Missionary, great position. But because of the oftentimes intense eye contact, it can get really uncomfortable for someone with autism. Try positions that minimize eye contact and let you focus on the feeling of the sex. Environmental factors can also influence how enjoyable the sex will be. When you pick the setting for this activity, make sure everything looks the way it normally does. Make it a familiar environment. Otherwise, your partner might get distracted if something is out of place. This applies to the physical arrangement of furniture, the smells of the room, and the noises too. People with autism often enjoy listening to the same songs over and over because it's a familiar pattern. Playing the same few songs on a loop during sex can get your partner into their comfort zone faster. Now, when it comes to the smell of the environment, try using Altoids. The source I'm pulling from describes it like this. I personally like peppermint or cinnamon Altoids. These are extremely strong and have a mild analgesic effect. I don't know if I said that right. The peppermint oil can cause the brain to believe the skin is cold or hot with cinnamon, and it is somewhat numbing. They were originally marketed as a stomach calmative. So yes, Altoids. No more burning skin, no more smell of indigestion, or anything other than mint wafting from your partner, and the scentscape has been righted. Mint is a somewhat neutral smell, calming the nerves, the same way eating a mint before a big test can calm and focus your mind. When it comes to the actual activity, roleplay can actually be a big help. By now, you've probably picked up on the fact that this all revolves around patterns. Most people on the spectrum operate around patterns. So, try adding as many patterns into your sex as possible. And what could be more pattern-based than a roleplay situation? It's a script to follow. It tells both partners exactly how they should act and when. Another great suggestion from my source is the timer roleplay. I have engaged in roleplay of sorts where we used a timer, which was fun for me, having that time set in the boundary of control. In moments where I've been able to enjoy sex before I need to be out or go somewhere, I say, okay, we have 10 minutes. I ask Google to set an alarm, and the situation becomes more intense, because my partner and I are racing that clock. But it's always playful, never overly conducted. BDSM is also especially effective. Remember how I said some sensations can be overwhelming? Well, Others can have the opposite effect, and they aren't necessarily what you would expect. Being tightly hugged or even bound with a rope can be a calming sensation. Feathers can have that effect as well. Wearing a blindfold will minimize the distractions. There's a case here in my sources where an autistic partner was actually calmed by the feeling of cold metal on her skin. It sounds crazy, but it's worth investing in. Learn what sensations calm your partner and incorporate those into the bedroom. Lastly, you might try an app designed to perfect your intimacy. Kindu is an app which is not sponsoring this video, but it is something that you can try. It asks every participant questions about what kinds of sensations you like, what you don't like, and what you might be open to trying. It'll then make suggestions for things you can try. It's a streamlined way of introducing new and exciting things into your routine. The bottom line is, if you or your partner have autism, sex might be an activity where you'll have to overcome a few extra hurdles. But sex can also be a healing experience for those with autism. AKA people who struggle with close social interactions. Sex is a way for someone to feel in tune with someone else, which doesn't come often for those of us on the spectrum. I sincerely hope this video will come in handy for you. I've been wanting to make a video like this for a while. From reading my comments, I know a lot of you are on the spectrum, or you might be speculating that you're on the spectrum. Even if you're not, you may share some traits with someone who is. I know I have a lot of trouble with social interactions, eye contact, and repeating patterns. The repeating songs thing, I do that every day. So even I will probably benefit a little bit from this advice. So, thank you for watching this video. Remember, we have the Patreon if you want to support my content, in a world where these kinds of videos aren't easily monetizable. So, thank you all for watching. I love you all. Good night.